On the matter of private member statements, I call the member for Maitland.
Thank you, Mr Acting Deputy Speaker. This morning in this place I met with many good men and women from the commercial fishing industry from across this state. The meeting was instigated by the hardworking member for the Entrance and the Shadow Minister for Primary Industries and the Honourable Mick Veitch. It's one of a number of meetings and phone calls that I've participated in to address the government's complete mishandling of the Business Adjustment Program and structural reform of the commercial fishing industry in New South Wales. And it is very ironic to me that it was held this morning in this very place. For this is a very dark day for all small businesses in New South Wales. In the early hours of this morning, we saw the guillotine applied to the greyhound industry. At the meeting with the commercial fishers this morning, we've heard many moving stories, and it is clear that their industry is suffering death by 1,000 small cuts, and they are being left to bleed out. As I go around the state meeting with people from many industries, I'm actually appalled by the incompetent and disrespectful way that the government is dealing with small business, and I acknowledge the laughter of some of those on the other side. Hairdressers being told one day that they would no longer require the qualifications that are essential to the health and safety of workers, and indeed their very clients in every town and village across this state, including Maitland. The Minister for Innovation and Better Regulation floats a thought bubble that he hasn't even passed by the Minister for Skills and Small Business, and thankfully, after a campaign by the industry and supported by Labor, the Minister walks back his announcement, but not before creating a climate of fear and uncertainty for this industry of small businesses. But let me return to the commercial fishers who have been going through years of pain, and I acknowledge years of pain, in relation to their industry. Through a variety of measures, they have lost their rights, and the current reforms have put them in the untenable position that they have to borrow money to continue doing what they do. In other words, the government is forcing these businesses, some of which have operated in this state for up to 5 generations, to destroy them at the stroke of a minister's pen as unviable, and they will lose their livelihoods. How will they pay off mortgages on boats, their homes or other assets with a measly $20,000? They're caught between the government's economic rationalist assurances of increasing share prices for sellers and the government's lack of care that many of these people will not actually be able to afford to purchase another stake in the same business that they have already been operating. And this is particularly cruel in the space of realising that the new regime will actually give them less than a third of their current allotted fishing days to pay off this debt. For those who've gone into debt and sunk their lives into savings, into equipment and gear, boats, facilities, and for their extensive knowledge of the industry, the government is offering them a measly $20,000 and whatever their shares can get on the open market if there are any fishers left in the industry to purchase the shares after the end of this debacle of a process. This will have disastrous impacts on small businesses and put in danger the very economies of small fishing villages across the state. They put the future of co-ops at risk. It puts the future of coffee shops, accountants, service stations, grocery stores, butchers, bakers and other small businesses that rely on the income that they receive from the fishers to survive. On a more macro level, they put the tourism, restaurant and gourmet food industry that highlights our fantastic Australian seafood industry at risk. And earlier today, I spoke to the Managing Director of a company which has operated for over 128 years in this state, supplying fishing gear and equipment to the industry. He told me that his company spends over $250,000 per year on freight alone, and this does not include all the other costs that his business has, which contribute to the economic power of our state. The suppliers he pays, such as telephone, office equipment, advertising, insurers, and of course the taxes that he pays to both governments. He is gravely concerned, and as are many of the business people I've spoken to across the state, who are concerned about the wider business impacts of this botched reform process. This reform will have a snowballing economic impact on our local, regional fishing communities and indeed the broader economic impacts across our state. If New South Wales is the new state of business, as the government likes to proclaim so frequently, we can only ask the question, first the greyhounds, now the fishers, who's next? Thank you, Mr Deputy Speaker.